You and also tell them how much respect and trust you have in Denver. Him not to tell you anything, you showed up anyway. So
we figured because of Denver that it was food.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I can't.
yeah. So, but again, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you. Thank goodness it's getting dark early, so that helps us a little bit now, because otherwise some of you guys may have wanted to stay home and do some things if it was still daylight. But there we go. Yeah, if you just open it. Anyway, my name's Tim Brown, and I live in Bowling Green, actually. I didn't grow up there. I actually grew up in the western part of the state, down in Murray. But lived in Bowling Green the last 27 years, and it's home. And about 14 years ago, myself and some other men started a deal called ReUP Men's Movement. And what we've done the last 14 years is we've helped men individually, we've helped partnered with churches to basically, really, from the church aspect, create a men's discipleship system, not a men's ministry. We feel like the biggest need out there today is discipleship. The goal of the church is to make disciples. And unfortunately, and we're going to get into some of that a little bit here in a minute, we're not doing that very well, especially when it comes to men. And I'll validate some of that here in a minute. But my background is kind of a sordid past. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and if you want to know more about me, you can. This book that they asked me to write a couple years ago was my story. And the reason they wanted me to write it is because the name of the book is God and a Man, How God Can Use Any Man to Make a Difference, because I'm that guy. I'm that guy. I'm the most unlikely guy that God would use to do anything. I'm the guy that's done everything you're not supposed to, probably did it twice, and was really good at it. And the Lord intervened, and only the way He can, proved to me that He is who He says He is, and has taken me on the greatest journey of my life, which is becoming who He made me to be. And the cool thing is I've learned every man is God's man. It's just a matter of us really understanding what that is and living in that. But He created us in His image, and every man is God's man. But unfortunately, as the subtitle of my book says, How God Can Use Any Man to Make a Difference, a lot of men today do not believe that one man can make a difference anymore. The enemy has really gotten us to think that. And unfortunately, because of that, we have an extreme male leadership crisis. I actually call it a mandemic. There's a chapter in my book, and that's what it's called, a mandemic. And the unfortunate thing about a mandemic, just like a pandemic, is it's contagious. But in my opinion, the mandemic destroys cultures and societies, where a pandemic kills people individually. But a mandemic destroys generations in our society and our culture, and we've been in one for a while. So I want you to know that I'm not here tonight to make you feel good, probably. When you leave, you probably won't feel real good about everything, but I hope you'll feel challenged. G.K. Chesterton says, it's not that we don't know the solution, it's that we're avoiding the problem. And we're living in a time today where we're really avoiding the problem. And I want you to know that on the spiritual gifts test, I didn't even know this was on there, but my number one spiritual gift is to tick men off. That's a joke, but hey, gotcha. Okay.
That's funny.
Yeah, but guys, I'm telling you, I'm extremely passionate about what I'm going to talk to you about tonight, and we got to start being this way. Because I'm telling you, I don't know about you, but when I wake up in the world we're waking up in today, it just blows my mind, things that are going on. And unfortunately, you know whose watch all this has happened on?
Ours.
Been ours. It didn't fall out of the sky. We've let it happen. So, because I'm intense and because I have the spiritual gift of ticking men off, I want to say this to you. Please don't throw out the message tonight because of the messenger. Just because you may not like the way I deliver it, I'm going to tell you the truth. Okay? Because we've been playing around way too long, dilly-dallying around. It's time to talk about the truth and to do something about it. And so, as I said, for the last 14 years, we've seen thousands of men's lives changed. Now, we didn't change their lives. He did. Because he's the only one in the life-changing business. True life change. But the Lord has used us as a conduit to help bring that about. And what's interesting is, this isn't rocket science. Everything I'm going to share with you tonight is based really around what Jesus did with 12 men. And those 12 men did what? They changed the world. So again, this isn't rocket science. This isn't some new idea that just new under the sun. It's a basic concept that we got to get back to. Especially if we're going to throw a life buoy to the generations behind us that are drowning right now. Matter of fact, those are 3 of my 4 grandkids right there. You know why I get up every day and do what I do now? Right there. I am scared to death of what those 4 grandkids are going to have to deal with in the future if we don't get some men to step up and be God's men. So, what do you think about when I say this statement? That the man you're someday going to be, you're now becoming. Are you encouraged by that? Or does it scare you to death? That the man you're someday going to be, you're now becoming. Well, here's another statement that fits with that. Behavior tells what matters in our lives. So are we displaying what really matters? And are we understanding that the man we're someday going to be, we are now becoming, and that right now matters? Because I'm telling you, there's somebody watching you right now, all the time, as a man. So here's another question. We got what, what'd you say, Denver, 27, 28 guys in here? 27. If all of you guys tomorrow walked out into your world, a man, I don't care what age he is, but especially a young man, walked up to you and said, hey, I understand you're a Jesus follower. Tell me what a biblical man is. You know what I found the last 15 years? First off, most men hope nobody asks them that. And then secondly, we've got 28 different answers. Which tells me we don't really know how to answer that. Dr. Robert Lewis, who founded Men's Fraternity, says this: you can't become what you can't define. But yet the man you're someday going to be, you're now becoming. But you can't become what you can't define. And we're finding with the younger generations, the number one question they want to know is, what is a biblical man? I mean, you're going to see on your handout here in a minute that only 3% of a church's makeup today are young men ages 18 to 34. So let me look around the room. How many in here are under the age of 34? Raise your hand. How many? 2. And there's 28 here, right? I did those equip conferences where I met these guys and we got introduced to each other. I did 6 of them across the state of Kentucky for the KBC. They had almost 1,400 attenders at those. At dinner at each one of those, me and some other guys went around and counted the number of men under the age of 40 that were there in attendance. And we stretched it a little bit. We're not sure some of these guys were 40. We think they were older than that. You know how many out of nearly 1,400 attenders, at all 6 of those combined, you know how many were under the age of 40? 47. So let's fast forward 20 years from now, if nothing changes. What's the church going to look like? Be empty. Or the ones that are there are going to be women and kids, which is about where we're at anyway. Because only 30% of attenders today that walk through a church door are men. And that number keeps dropping like crazy. Young men, you know why they don't show up to the local church today? No male leadership. Older guys are not investing in them. The church is not creating a setting on a consistent basis for older men and younger men to hang out together and to do life together and invest in each other. Here's a question for you. How many of you guys over the age of 50 are spending intentional, consistent time, weekly, monthly, whatever it is, consistent, with guys in that age group I told you a while ago, 18 to 34, and investing in them? How many of y'all are doing that? Are spending intentional, consistent time, but yet weekly, monthly, whatever it is, consistent. We want to complain about the next generations. Guys in that age group I told you a while ago, 18 to 34, a bunch of knuckleheads, and investing in them. They're lazy. How many of y'all are doing that? You can't get them to work. They're spending intentional, they don't have to do anything. All they do is, but yet weekly, on their phone, whatever it is. We want to complain about the next generation. Play game. We throw rocks at them. Age group. But I just asked you what you were doing about it. Knucklehead. So you know what I tell guys now when they complain about the younger guys? First thing I do is I hit them. I punch them. Because it just makes me mad. And then I say, okay, then what are you doing about it? What do you mean, Tim? What am I doing about it? Well, what are you doing about it? Are you helping them? Well, no, then shut up. Or put your money where your mouth is and do something about it. See, I probably made somebody mad already in the first 10 minutes, didn't I? So it's all uphill from here. Or put your money where your mouth is and do something about it. But guys, here's what I've learned. We got to start talking like this and calling each other out if we're going to see anything be different. Because you know what we've been guilty of? It's that old saying, we've been doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results. Y'all know what that is, right?
That's insanity.
That's insanity. Well, I'm telling you, we're living in an insane world right now. And unfortunately, you know what we've been guilty of? The local church is right in the middle of it. We're doing the same thing over and over and over, and the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results. Here's what I'm finding most men want more than anything else today. To be discipled, if they're a Jesus follower. So here's what I ask churches. Denver's here. I don't care to call him out. He can tell me to leave if he wants to here in a second. But this isn't all his responsibility when I say what I'm getting ready to say. I want one of y'all to share the vision and the men's discipleship plan for this church. Share the not the men's ministry where you have pancake breakfasts or you go build wheelchair ramps. And all. Those are all great things. But show me, I want to see your men's discipleship plan to grow each of your men into a disciple and a disciple maker. Show me that plan. I want to see it. You know what? I did that session, 6 sessions at the KBC deal. I don't know how many churches were represented. And I just asked that same question. You know how many churches, I asked them to email it to me. You know how many churches emailed me their men's discipleship plan? 0. You know why? Don't have one. Don't have one. So how in the world do you think you're going to get results if you don't have a plan? You know what I found? We're just doing stuff to be doing it. Because it's what we've always done. I'm going to tell you what we always done, boys, look at me, ain't getting us nowhere. Except deeper and deeper in a hole that these young people are going to have to pay the price for. So, last 14, almost 15 years, we've been trying to help churches create a discipleship system. And then help each individual man become the man God created him to be. Because every man is God's man. Last 14, almost 15 years, we've been trying to help churches create a discipleship system. Live that out. We don't have to flush that out. We're not helping each other do that. And then help each individual man. I mean, most of us, my goodness, we're just hoping to get to Friday, the man God created him to be. Because every man live for the weekend. So we can hunt. Last 14, almost 15 years, we've been trying to help churches, whatever. I'm not against any of those. In the book, The True Measure of Man, the author says this: men should not fear failure. But here's what they should fear: spending most of their time trying to be successful at things that don't matter. Welcome to 2023 with men. You know what we spend most of our time doing? Things that don't matter. You know, data shows that the average Christian man spends less than 10 minutes a day in the Word and in prayer. I think that's an inflated number. I don't think men do 10 minutes. Most men don't do anything. They hope Denver's got a great sermon on Sunday. And I'm not saying he doesn't. Well, guys, that's not enough. That's not going to change your life. What Monday through Saturday is life. So one of the goals we've tried to do is we've tried to create a way for men to give God time enough so He could teach them enough, so they might learn enough, to trust Him enough, to let Him live His life through them. And then we're going to get somewhere. But men don't know how to do that. So almost 15 years ago, me and a group of guys were like, there's something missing. Because I was teaching a Sunday school class, started with about 26 people. Within a year, I had almost 170. Now, that had anything to do with me. But I was teaching some principles based around what I believe is the number one epidemic with men for sure, and just Christians in general. I was teaching identity in Christ. I know that's your sermon series right now. Guys, the number one problem with Christians today is they don't know their identity. And when it comes to men believe that what they do, the things they accumulate, and the people they know is who they are. The enemy has gotten men to buy that lie. And that's why men are out here spending all their time trying to be successful, things that don't matter, because we believe the deal. I mean, the American dream is wonderful, but it's destroyed men and manhood. Because we got men spending all their time trying to be successful, things that don't matter. You guys know you can't take any of that with you, right? Have you ever seen a man on his dying bed wishing he'd had more hours to work? What do most of them wish? Yeah, that. Or, man, I wish I'd have spent more time trying to make a difference. So all of a sudden that class grew as I started to teach these identity principles. I had all these men reaching out to me and saying, would you have lunch with me? I'm filling in for a pastor right now. I started a series this morning called Life. And a lot of what I'm going to talk to you guys about is in this sermon series. You know the number of people I had come up to me, I did 2 services, said, I've never heard those truths in my life before. And I've been in church my whole life. Or they said, best sermon I've ever heard. Now, again, it's not anything to do with me. We got 6 people saved this morning. It ain't anything to do with me. But I'm telling you, people are looking for life. And you can't have life. He came that we might have life and have it to the full. You can't have life until you know who He says you really are. And you know how to live in that. But most men believe that what they do is who they are. And if they've had a failure of any kind, they let the enemy convince them that that's who they are, and they step over in that corner right there and say, hey, guys, y'all know what? I'll be over here if you need me. Y'all just play on without me. And for that reason, a guy's not leading his home. For that reason, 85% of the volunteers in church today are women. 75% of all the Bible teaching being done in churches today are done by women. We have no discipleship systems for men. Men aren't invested in each other. It's because we've bought into the lie that what we do changes who we are. Guys, that's not in this book. So what we've learned is if we can help a man learn that what he does is not who he is, but who he is does change what he does. If he really knows who he is, his identity, then we start getting somewhere. Then we got guys going, you know what? So what if I made a mistake? Because of who Christ made me into be, my true identity. I'm free to fail every now and then. It's okay. But you know what? The answer to most guys, they give to that question I asked you what a biblical man is a while ago. You know the answers we give? It's all about performance and activity. Oh, well, a biblical man, he's in the Word. That's true. I don't disagree with that. A biblical man loves his wife as Christ loved the church. I don't disagree with that. A biblical man raises his kids up in the ways of the Lord. I don't disagree with that. But guys, that's performance. So let me ask you. Any of you guys in here been divorced? Are you still a biblical man though? Because apparently you didn't love your wife as Christ loved the church. Huh, wait a minute. Now you're getting personal. Yeah, I am. Because that's what we're getting guys to believe. When we answer what is a biblical man, we tell them it's performance. It's something you got to do. Well, Tim, what if I mess up? Well, okay, if you mess up, you've been divorced, right? Here, I want you to go stand over in this corner and you can't play anymore. And then we wonder how come these young men don't know what a man is. It's because the enemy's gotten us to buy the lie that what we do, what we have, and who we know is who we are. And he's backed us in a corner. So he's convinced this guy right here that he has nothing to offer a young guy because he's been divorced when it comes to marriage. Now, I'm going to tell you what, I'd rather sit with that guy than one of you guys been married 50 years. Because this guy's going to share with me how he messed up probably. You with me? That's probably going to help me more in the long run than one of you guys talking about how you gave your wife flowers every other day. I was on a training call through the Tennessee Baptist Association a few weeks ago. And one of the guys on the call was a guy named Derek Ewalt. Derek is the men's pastor, which is extremely unusual in a church today, for Bellevue Baptist down in Memphis. You older guys know Adrian Rogers. That was Adrian's church for years. Now Steve Gaines has it. I think if it's not the largest church in Tennessee, it's the second largest church in Tennessee. I don't know how many, like 20-something thousand every Sunday or whatever. So Derek's their men's pastor, and he was on this call with me with about 8 other people. And I was going through the stuff I was supposed to be doing on the webinar, and he just stopped me kind of rudely in the middle of it and said, hey, Tim, I just got to stop you before we go any further. He said, I just got to tell you, here's what we really feel like we're struggling with in our church right now. He said, how do you answer the question, what is a biblical man? He said, man, we're struggling with that. I said, well, just tell me how you personally answer that. So he goes to Psalm 1, and then he quotes some other verses, and, you love your wife as Christ loved. All the things I just kind of went through with you. I said, Derek, I wouldn't disagree with any of that. But every one of those you just said is performance and activity. The guy's got to do certain. It's about performance. I said, I'm telling you, guys aren't digging that. These young guys especially, like, nope. I saw my dad try that. He crashed and burned. They divorced or whatever. You with me? I'm not buying into that. Don't try to sell me that deal. Derek said, well, okay, well then how do you answer it? I said, well, I'm not saying my answer is right, but here's what we teach and we get response from is a biblical man is based on three things. The first one is a biblical man truly, in capital letters, I kind of say it that way, a biblical man truly understands he's a child of God, his identity. And he understands that what he does doesn't change who he is. And he's free to fail. But when he really understands who he is, it changes what he does. If he really knows who he is. Game changer. Game changer. I'm telling you. The thousands of men in the last 14 years we've seen that when the light bulb goes off about their identity, it's over. Game changer. I'm telling you, it's the game changer. So the biblical man knows that. He can stand on that. He can catch Satan at his game when Satan's trying to convince him otherwise. All these things. That's number one. Secondly, when he understands he's truly a child of God, that allows him to learn that he has to learn to live his life by the life of another. Wonders whose life that would be. The one that's in him. Whose life's in him? Jesus. Let me ask you a question. Did Jesus live his own life when he walked the earth? Nope. Whose life did he live? Father. You realize not only did Jesus come to die for our sins, but he also came to show us how we're to live our life. By the life of another. You know what? Most men don't know. They never even heard that. They don't even know that's possible. They're like, what in the world are you talking about? Yeah. He in you? You got to learn to live by that life. And when you really know who you are, your identity, you start to see that. Oh, wait a minute. You mean, wait a minute. Man, I've been busting my chops trying to love my wife as Christ loved the church. I give her flowers every other day. But I still mess up. You mean, listen to me. You mean he could love her through me as Christ loved the church? And I get all the credit? Wife as Christ loved the church? Yep. I give her flowers every other day. You know what my nickname is with my wife's friends? Mr. Wonderful. Dude, they think apparently in the dictionary when you look up the word husband, apparently my picture's there. But you know what I figured out a few years ago? When I learned my identity truly? Is that I kind of cheated. I'm like, you know what? I could let him do it through me. And I get all the credit for it. That's why they call me Mr. Wonderful. Because you know the other thing, guys, look at me a minute. Do you realize there's not a human being ever created that can love their spouse as Christ loved the church? You know, that's I believe when he said that, he kind of laughed. We don't have that in Scripture, but I think he kind of laughed. He goes, you old boys can't do that. But boy, I can through you. Let me ask you this. Who stands a better chance of raising my kids up in the ways of the Lord? Me or him through me? Guys, I'm telling you, this concept I'm talking about, guys have no clue about this. They've never even heard this, most of them. They don't even know that's possible. But yet, they say Jesus is the Lord of their life, and he showed us exactly how to live our life. By the life of another. That's the life he talks about in John 10:10. They came that they might have life. Well, that's life. When you get to rest in him and enjoy him and let him do it through you. So, biblical man understands he's truly a child of God. He learns how to live by the life of another. And because of those two things, he can view life from God's perspective. And he can look at things and go, that's right, that's wrong. That's right, that's wrong. That's right, that's right. There ain't no way that's right. Because who's doing it through him? He who gave him his identity. Now, do all the performance things love that we're given the answer with right now, do all those things flush out in that guy's life because of those three things? Absolutely. But if he messes up, it doesn't change, right? He's still truly a child of God. He's still letting Christ live his life through him, but he's a guy that got messed up and got a divorce. He's still a biblical man, though. And the cool thing is those three things have looked different in my life in different seasons of my life. When my boys were little, they flushed out a little differently. Now I've got 4 grandkids, they flush out a little differently. My wife and I have been married 39 years. It's flushed out a little differently now. But it's still my foundation. And you know what? When I share that with young guys, they're like, you know what? I think I'll give that a shot. Because you tell me I got to perform and do all these other things, I'm out. But if you tell me I got to go on a journey and figure those things out, I might be up for that. But you know what? They find that most of the older guys that they want to hang out with don't know that either. But what's cool is it can change. Because we've seen it. People ask me all the time, if you read my book, I've had some stuff go on in my past and all that, some crazy stuff. People ask me all the time, man, Tim, man, what a journey. You were a train wreck, you know. Well, yeah, you know. So, man, tell us this, give us this big revelation that you've learned through all this you've experienced. And I know they're sitting there waiting for me to give them some big theological answer or whatever. And I said, well, I don't know if this will disappoint you or not, but here's what I've learned. He is who he says he is. But you know, think about that a minute. Do we need any more than that? That we really know that he is who he says he is? Man, I can find hope in that. I can find trust in that. I can find peace in that. I mean, go on and on. So we found that the greatest assets sitting in our churches today are men. And we're not using them, not utilizing them. And I really think God's looking down at us going, really? Come on, man. Look what I gave you. I gave you men. I mean, we're problem solvers, aren't we? We're fixers. Okay, well then, what are we fixing? When you look at these numbers, let's look at them real quick. See if we're fixing anything right now. I shared a while ago, average church congregation is made up of 37% males. It's actually dropped to 30. Only 3% of an average church congregation are males 18 to 34. No male leadership cited as the reason. 85% of lay leadership today, churches are women. 75% of Bible studies are being taught by women. That's not on there. But boy, here's one. Now, I want everybody to look at me. And I really want to get you older guys' attention real quick. Because here's what I hear from some of you older guys. That don't affect me. You better get your head out of the sand, brother. Every second of every day, $3,000 is being spent on pornography. Look at me. Pornography is destroying men right now. It's destroying somebody in this room right now. It's satanic. It's destroying marriages. And it's destroying all ages. You know, when we look at that stat, most people go, well, it's just young people. No, my brother, who's a dentist in East Tennessee, 72-year-old business partner, just got arrested 6 weeks ago for child pornography, spent the rest of his life in prison. Number one category my wife and I are having to disciple young couples in right now, problem in their marriage, pornography. You know why my wife and I are having to deal with them? Because the local church is not creating a setting with older men and younger men to come together where they can deal with something that's real. We're just leading them to their own. Oh, go find some help online or go read a book. Guys, I'm telling you, you better get your head out of the sand, because if it ain't in your backyard yet, it's coming. Your son, your grandson, your great-grandson, your nephew, somebody It's coming if it ain't already there. You realize pornography in 2020 took in more revenue during COVID than Major League Baseball, the NFL, and the NBA's revenues combined. Now you tell me we ain't got a problem. You know what? A guy who's been the director for Campus Crusade for 38 years on 6 college campuses, UK, U of L, Eastern, Western, Middle Tennessee, and UT Chattanooga. You know what he says is the number one problem with young men on college campuses today? Pornography. "24/7 access." Had a young 21-year-old boy tell me the other day who's been eaten up with it. He said, "Tim, you were lucky." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Your generation, you had to go find temptation. It's coming at me 24/7, 1,000 miles an hour." I mean, me and my best friend when I was a kid, we had to climb to the top of his dad's closet to get his Playboys. And he fell off of there one time. And we couldn't tell his mom he got hurt because we were afraid we'd get caught doing what we did. But it's coming, I'm telling you, it's coming at all men 24/7 now. It's chasing you. But we're not doing anything to help. My wife and I this will break your heart, I hope it does. We just tried counseling a couple, been married 17 months. She's 28, he's 29. If she walked through that door right now on a scale of 1 to 10, she's a 14. She was a model for many years. You know why they divorced? He wouldn't touch her. Now I tell you guys, I don't get that. My wife slants her eyes at me the wrong way. We're getting after it. This guy wouldn't touch her. You know why? Addicted to pornography. 3 weeks after she found out, when they separated, she finds out she's pregnant. They've divorced. She had her baby last week. She's going to raise it by herself. Another fatherless home because of pornography. What did I tell you a while ago? GK says, it's not that we don't know the solution. It's not that we're not realizing the problem. Only 5% of Christian men say they have a best friend. Guys, right now, number one answer on the board from our group context I'm going to share with you here in a minute. Number one thing guys say they're getting out of this more than anything else, friendships. Most men don't have any friends. They just have acquaintances. The enemy has got us right where he wants us. My dad just turned 81. He was a very successful veterinarian in Murray. My dad knew everybody in Murray and everybody knew him because he treated their animal. 7 years ago, at the age of 74, he got in the group context I'm going to share with you with 6 other guys. Him and another guy were in their 70s. There were 2 guys in their 50s, a guy in their 30s, and 2 guys in their late 20s in this group, intergenerational. After 4 weeks of being in that setting, my dad, who was my hero growing up, comes to me, tears running down his cheek. My dad was the toughest man I ever knew. I would watch him wrestle a 2,500-pound bull like it was nothing. Never saw him cry except that night. Tears running down his cheeks. He said, "Tim, I want to thank you for pushing me to do this." He said, "Because already after 4 weeks, he's the best friends I've ever had in my life." You know the number one issue I'm dealing with older men right now in their 60s and 70s, early 80s. They're coming to me. They want to hang out with me. They want me to go to lunch with them all the time. You know what they're telling me? "Man, I provided for my family. I work my tail, but I don't have any friends. Would you hang out with me? I don't have any friends." Here's a question I ask guys all the time. How many of you know that you know that you know that every day that you wake up that there's 5 to 6 other guys praying specifically for you and your family? How many in this room have got that? Raise your hand. Man, you guys are an exception. You know what? I got 9 of them because I'm in 2 different groups. I'll share that with you here in a little bit. Do you realize the difference that makes in my life? Man, if we could just get men starting to do that, it would change everything. I mean, man, when I'm having one of those crappy days, all of a sudden my phone goes off and it's one of my buddies saying, hey man, I don't know, for some reason I just prayed for you. I just wanted you to know that. Oh my gosh. Wow. Average age of a male video game user today is 35. Now, that generation grew up playing video games. I understand that. And I'm not against video games. But the average age of a male video game user should not be 35. But here's a stat that goes with that. 1/3 of young men today, ages 20 to 30, still live at home with their parents. That's a 100% increase in the last 20 years. Well, no, wait. We're going to throw rocks at them, aren't we, all of a sudden? Hey, look at them. Bunch of lazy goof-offs. No. You know whose fault that is? You better turn that finger to yourself because we've let that happen. They have no social skills. They have no problem-solving skills. That same guy I was telling you about, the Campus Crusade guy, I've asked him to describe the last 3 freshman classes on those 6 campuses of young men, Christian boys, because they're coming into I said, give me a description of them. You know what he says? He said, Tim, they know absolutely nothing. I said, what do you mean by that? He goes, what I said. They know nothing. He said, they don't know the word. They don't have any problem-solving skills. They have no social skills. They don't have to do anything. Well, whose fault's that? Was it the kids? Yeah. No, we got to blame them a little bit. But whose fault is it? A lot. Judges chapter 2, verse 10. And there arose a generation that did not know the Lord, nor the work that he was capable of for the nation of Israel. One generation removed from Joshua, one of the greatest leaders in the Bible. It just shows you when men stop investing in each other, what happens. Just like that. Fewer than 1% of church-going men participate in any ongoing men's ministry program. You could say discipleship. So what's that tell you? We got a lot of men on the church rolls. Very few of them engaged. This Sunday, almost 25% of married church-going women will worship without their husbands. Fewer than 10% of churches are able to establish or maintain a vibrant men's ministry. So here's what we've learned. Turn the page over. It's time to do something. And we think these are the 4 focuses everything has to be built around. Number 1, what I said a while ago, we got to start helping men realize and talking this way. Hey, the man you're someday going to be, you're now becoming. And look at me. We got to quit buying each other's excuses and letting each other off the hook. Oh, that's okay. I know this is a busy season for you. Bless your heart. No, during that busy season, somebody's watching you. And the man you're someday going to be, you're becoming in that busy season. And your behavior tells what matters. So during that busy season, what message are you giving off in your behavior to the generations behind you? That's what matters. Being successful at things that don't matter. Instead of giving God time enough so He'll teach you enough so you can trust Him enough to let Him live His life through you so you can have life that Jesus died for you to have. That's what we need to be showing them. A buddy of mine says this, Tim, we have got to quit letting men off the hook so easy. And we've got to start talking that way with each other. Not judging, but because we love each other. And look, man, what's your name? Reuben. Reuben, the man you're someday going to be, brother, you're now becoming. I'm not going to let you off the hook. I love you too much. We got to do something about this. That's the way we got to start talking, guys. Or we're just going to keep getting the same results. And I'm going to tell you what, you know what we've learned in 15 years? That's the way guys want you to talk to them. They're tired of this dilly-dally, no, and don't step on my toe. You know, I'm afraid to step on his toes. You better get up there and stomp on his feet. That's what you better do. Or he ain't going to do nothing. And the enemy's guy's right where he wants us. He's betting the house in Vegas that that's what we're going to continue to do. Nothing. Because that's what we've always done. So that men don't realize that now matters. We need to help men understand the importance that growing in their walk with Jesus matters now. Focus number 2, I've already talked about. What a man does is not who he is, but who he is has a huge impact on what he does. Men believe what they do and the world defines them. Men need to know that it is not true. We need to give men practical and effective ways to teach them their identity using God's Word. How in the world can a man learn his identity if he's spending less than 10 minutes a day with the guy who's going to teach it to him? There ain't no way you're going to learn that. As good as his sermon series is on identity, it ain't, guys, you got to have more. For him to really, you got to give him time enough to let him teach you enough. You and him, you and him, you and him. And then that leads to what I said a while ago. We got another focus is we got to start creating a way for men to give God time enough so he can teach them enough, so they'll learn enough to trust him enough, let him live his life through them. Men don't know how to do that. Number one reason we hear from men, they're not in the Word, they don't know how. They need some kind of structure, they tell us. Man, if you just give me a structure, I'll do it. And it's proven in our society. How many of you have ever done Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, Jenny Craig? Wow, all y'all just like being fat, huh?
You just haven't said the right one.
Okay.
Keep going. Atkins.
All right, let me look around the room. This one may not even work either. How many of you know what P90X or Beachbody, whatever? Oh, now we're getting, those are workout deals, okay? What are those?
Plans.
Intentional structure, a plan. What's it tell you? It tells you what to eat and how much when. Or it tells you how many reps to do on what day, how much, you with me? And if you do it and follow it, what's it create?
Good habits.
Results, fruit. So we're proven, and I'm going to tell you, David Morrill, who wrote the book, Why Men Hate Going to Church, he and I were sitting at a table one time at a meeting. He said, Tim, you know why your deal's working? Because you're telling guys exactly what to do every day. And if you don't do that for men, there'll be no fruit. If you leave men to their own, it won't happen. I mean, with me, I've gained 25 pounds in the last 4 months. Because you know what? You leave me to try to lose weight on my own, I'm going to look at somebody else, well, I'm not that fat. So I'll eat these cookies. Or I'll go to the gym, I'll do a few reps, and I'll get to walking around like, you know what? I don't look bad as that guy does. So I'll go over and do a few more reps, I'm going home. Now, if you tell me exactly what to do every day so I'll get results that I want and need, I'll do it. If you give me a structure. So what we found was missing 15 years ago was men needed an intentional structure so they could give individually, so they could give God time enough, teach them enough so they'd learn enough to trust him enough. And then on top of that, they needed a group of men to do that with. They needed accountability in their life. Most men don't have accountability. The only accountability they have is the mirror they look at every day. And I can tell you what, if I look in the mirror, I can convince myself of a lot of things. But when I've got guys in my life that ask me tough questions, hold me accountable, to keep me going down roads I don't need to go, man, that's the value of that is unbelievable. And then the other thing it is friendships. So we thought, what if we could create a setting that could happen in? What might just happen? Well, I can tell you, thousands of men, the Lord's changed their life. And all we did was create an intentional structure for that to happen. And we disproved this deal. You know what most pastors in church, what the thought about men is in the church today? How we've been labeled. Quitters. Because we quit. We don't stay. Number of pastors I've said, oh man, we started doing a Saturday morning breakfast Bible study. Man, we started with 29. Well, how many you got now? 7. Why? Because men are quitters. And the enemy knows we are. But here, Denver kind of let the cat out of the bag a while ago. You know what the average tenure of our groups of men right now is? 9 years. Now you tell me why a guy keeps showing up, if he's supposed to be a quitter, keeps showing up on a Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. like my guys do in the lobby of a dental office in January when it's 5 degrees outside and mama felt pretty good in the bed and it was warm, but I got up, got dressed, drove across town to meet with my guys. Why does a guy do that?
Accountability.
He's getting something out of it, guys. Because I'm going to tell you, if men ain't getting something out of it, they're going to quit. If it isn't helping them grow into who they want to be, they're going to quit. So what we've learned, if you give them what they're looking for, they'll stay. And we've disproved that they're not, we don't believe men are quitters if you give them what they're looking for. But if you don't, yeah, they'll quit left and right. So we started doing that 15 years ago. And then we've just tried to do it better and better and better and give them all the resources they need, all the because the bottom line here, guys, everything I'm talking to you about is taking each man to his feet and growing their personal relationship with him. You give them what they're looking for, they'll stay. 16:9. It's on the back of your pamphlet there. Old Testament verse says, "For the eyes of the Lord look to and fro throughout the earth to strongly support those whose hearts are completely His." You know what we've learned? If you give men the tools, the structure, and the context to go on a journey to know God's heart and their hearts become God's heart, He will strongly support them. Which I don't know what that looks like in everybody's life. It looks different. But I can tell you what, it may mean He'll strongly support you to lead your home. It may mean He'll strongly support you to step out into a ministry that He's had in the back of your mind for a long time that can help a lot of other people. It may be just to step out in your workplace and be that guy that looks different than the world. I don't know what it looks like, but I'm telling you what, He has proven to me that He will do that. If a man will go on a journey of pursuing God's heart and making his heart completely God's. Matter of fact, there's a cat I know that's seated next to the Father tonight, next to the throne in heaven, that was known as a guy like that. Who was that? David. Did he strongly support that cat? Yeah. Now, did David mess up some? Yeah. But where's he at today? Which again validates our identity. That what we do doesn't change who we are, if we really know who we are. Because I'm telling you, how many of you in here had an affair with somebody and plotted to have their husband murdered? Anybody? But you know where a guy seated tonight that did that? Because what he did didn't change who he was in God's eyes. So it proves what God will do if we'll make our hearts completely His. He will strongly support. And I just think it means He'll blow your mind. And that's what we got to start doing. We got to start creating a setting where men can be those men. So that's what we want to try to help you guys do. Is we want to help you create a context, a discipleship system to take men on this journey of being who God made them to be. Because this whole thing is about growing each man's individual relationship. And then what that looks like inside the group context, man, it's crazy. It's so cool what God does there. I'm telling you, we've got men that would take a bullet for each other. That's why what we do is called a fire team. Now, we're just down the road from Fort Knox. My son is in the Army National Guard, and my youngest son, he's presently deployed. We'll be back in June of 24. He's deployed, he's in Qatar. The rest of his unit's in Jordan. They're having some fun right now over there, you can imagine. But when we started this deal 14 years ago, we kind of knew we were on to something. We were like, we got to come up with something to call it that sounds manly. We've got men, because here's what we learned. It would take a bullet. Men don't want to be in a Bible study. That's why what we do about the Bible is called a fire team. Men don't want to be in the accountability group because they don't want people to know too much about them. And they don't want to be in a small group because they probably did that with their wife and that was a little too touchy-feely. Had to share their, emotion with her. So we learned with men, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So one night we're just trying to figure out, what this context we're creating. Well, my son was there. He said, well, Dad, I think what you're describing is men doing a battle together. I'm like, yeah. He said, well, in the military, when men are in a foxhole taking fire from the enemy, taking heat, when they communicate, they call them, we're a fire team, which means we're taking heat. We got an enemy trying to destroy us. We were like, that might work. So we start calling it a fire team. And here's how we communicated it to men. Instead of saying, would you like to be in what's your name?
Brett.
Brett. Brett, would you like to be in a Bible study of men?
Yes, sir.
You know what most men say? No, I don't think so. Well, hey, what'd you say your name again was?
Reuben.
Reuben.
Yeah.
You want to be in an accountability group with some other guys?
Well, I mean, you're probably talking to the wrong person.
Yeah,
'cause,
yeah.
I do.
But again, well, because you guys are here tonight, yeah, I know. But other guys, what would they probably say? I don't think so.
Who's in it?
Yeah. But let me ask you this. What if you went to them and said, hey, next week we're getting ready to start a fire team. And it's 6 to 8 guys coming together on a weekly basis, helping each other fight a battle with an enemy who's trying to destroy their marriage and destroy us as men and our influence in our community, in our world today. Would you be interested in that? Well, first off, you just told that guy, you verbalized to that guy what's going on in his life every day. And that was manly. And you know what we find? Guys are like, yeah, you know what? I think I'd do that. Well, a few weeks into it, you know what they figure out? They're in a small group, accountability group, Bible study.
I've been duped.
But you know what? Listen to me. They're getting something out of it so they don't quit. Were you getting ready to ask me something?
Yes. How's your son doing?
He's doing good. Talked to him today. He's doing good. I appreciate you asking. Right now they're not they're on lockdown and things like that, but he's good. I appreciate you asking.
How are you and your wife doing?
We're good. Well, and he's got hey, my son, the things I'm talking about to you guys, my son's so far ahead of me and all that stuff. He knows he's where he's at, the season he's supposed to be, where he's supposed to be, and he looks at it as an assignment from the Lord, and that's all he's worried about.
Please express our appreciation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So that's what we've done. We've created this context for men, and as I told you a while ago, our average tenure is 9 years. And the number one thing we're attacking right out of the gate is identity. Guys, I'm telling you, when that light bulb goes off, you better get out of a man's way. Let me share one story, and then I'll give you some specifics. About 7 years ago, a church down in Gadsden, Alabama reached out to us. Had heard about what we were doing. Wanted to know if I'd come down and talk to them and kind of help them. So I did. I went down there. They had about 32 guys there. Y'all got what, 28, 29, about this size. Kind of went through it with them, and that's back before we do. I mean, it was so different back then than what we do now. But anyway, did it. They got started. They started 5 fire teams out of those guys. From a distance, we helped them do what they were doing. A little over a year later, the pastor asked me if I'd come back down again, so I did. I get down there. Now there's 74 of them in fire teams. So I go and I kind of do my spiel, and we talk, and I teach and everything, help them and try to do things, and leave again. Well, this was probably 2 years later. The pastor calls me. Now, at the time when I went down there, let me say this. This church, number one, was in the middle of nowhere. I don't know how people found it. I mean, my GPS, first time I put it in, tried to find it, took me something, I never even found it. I got lucky and finally turned down the road, and there it was. They were running about 250 on Sunday mornings. The guy that was pastoring had been driving a fertilizer truck. He was bivocational. So we now go fast forward. So the third time I go down there, I pull up and I see they've cleared all this land off to the side and they're building. Oh, that's interesting. Well, he had told me before I came he wanted me to preach that day. He said, now you need to understand, we do 3 services. Oh, okay, that's different. I get there that morning, and I see all this going on, and get there, sure enough, 3 services. The first 2, I mean, just packed. They had people stuck to the walls. I preached and everything. And the third service, he had waited and asked every guy that was involved in the fire team to wait and come to the third service. So they did. So before I get ready to preach, he comes up and introduces me and all this and that. And he says, I want every one of you guys out there that's in the fire team to come up on the stage. Okay? 147 of them. And he goes, he said, Tim, since you were last down here, we now run almost 900. We're having to do 3 services. We're getting ready to add on to the building. We've gone from averaging 17 baptisms a year to 94. And he said, these 147 men have taken this church over. Denver, you'll like this. He said, I've got to be a pastor for the first time in 9 years. And these men have taken this church over and grown it. You know what happened there? A movement of men caused a movement of God. And you know what? When I read this book, that's consistently in it. Denver's got you here tonight because he believes one of the keys to being impacting the kingdom in this community and being the church God called him to be is to build a movement of men. And the same thing can happen. We fast forward 4 or 5 years from now. What could be going on here? I don't think you'd be against that, would you, Denver? No. He needs your help. He used that language when he invited you, didn't he? He needed your help. You know who told him to say that? I did. You know why? Because men respond to helping. And he needs your help. So you know what the goal is tonight? Is for us to create fire teams, what we call foundation fire teams, to test drive this car for this church, to build a foundation to create a movement of men. You can't build anything without a foundation. He wants you guys to be the pioneers. He wants you guys to be willing to change. He wants you guys to be willing to do something that most other men won't do, which is decide to go on a journey to see if God is who he really says he is. He's challenging, I'm challenging, he's challenging you to go on a journey so other men in this church can see what's capable of happening in men. We want you to go through a 90-day process with us and give it a shot. At the end of that 90 days, we want to come back together just like this, and we want you guys to share what's happened. Now, I don't want this to sound arrogant and cocky, but in the thousands of men that we've regathered, and I mean this when I say it, we've not had one single man come back to that regathering and go, this is a bunch of bull. You know what happens at most of those regatherings? Tears are shed. Men share things about how God has done something unbelievable just in 90 days because they started giving God time enough so he could teach them enough, so they could learn enough to trust him enough to let him do what only he's capable of. And you know what that's contagious. Other men are going to go, man, I don't know what's going on with that cat right there, but there's something different about him. When he starts telling his buddies that he's in a fire team and what it does, you know what his buddies are going to say? Well, that's what I want. Because here's what we learn. This is exactly what men want, and they don't know they want it because they're not seeing it. But when they see it, they're like, that's what I want. Young guys, dude, I'm telling you, when they hear this going on, see it, they're like, I'm in. That's what they want. I sat with a group of young men 7 years ago, my first one I do. I have this mentoring thing I do once a month. It's a 9-month program. I've had almost 60 guys go through it with me. The very first one I ever did 7 years ago, the very first night, I had a 31-year-old young guy. At that time, I was 52. 31-year-old guy, when we got finished, he said, Tim, I just need to tell you something. You know what most guys my age think about guys your age? I'm like, what? He goes, you could care less about us. because you ain't doing anything to help us. And you know what I've learned with these young guys? When they hear something like this is going on, they're all over it. Because that's what they're looking for. Because you know what they want? They want to know who they are, and they want to know the answer to what is a biblical man. So when he starts telling his buddies, how's it work? Well, I'm going to give you a card here in a minute. Here's the other thing we learned. I ain't going to let you go home and think about it. How about that, big boy? Because guys, look at me a minute. This is a big deal. We're not playing around here. This is about changing lives. This is about changing the trajectory of people's lives. This is about impacting the next generations and changing that trajectory. So we got to quit letting guys off the hook. Oh, I need to go home and think about it. Oh, here's the other one. Oh, I need to go home and pray about this. Really? You don't think God wants you to do something like this? Really? You know what that is, don't you? Those kind of excuses? That's crap. You know what crap is? It's stuff the enemy puts in your mind that comes out your mouth. And men are full of crap. So I'm going to give you a card. It's got options for you. 7 days, you can choose AM or PM. You're like, man, I don't know when I'd do it. Well, let me ask you something. How many of you trust the Lord? Raise your hand. Just mark something then. You know what he'll do? He'll work it out. You know, I had a guy tell me one time, this guy discipled me, talked about how he spends all this time in the Word every day. And this buddy of mine one time, he was like, how's that guy do that? How's he spend that much time in the Word? And this other buddy of mine said, I'll tell you how he does it. He asks the Lord to give it to him. He said, when's the last time you asked the Lord to give you an hour so you could spend it in the Word every day with him? The guy's like, I've never done that. Well, that's why you don't have it. Because you don't think he wants that for you? You don't think he won't work that out? So we ask you to mark a day. We want you to mark multiple days, actually, and times. And then I get this question all the time. Well, how do you put the teams together? Because, man, I'd like to be with my buddies. You know how we do it? We have this unbelievable mathematical equation that we use to do this.
Pick a name out of a hat.
The Lord. And you know what we do? We take the first 6 guys that say Tuesday AM would work with them. Guess what? There's your fire team, brother. And you know what's cool? Is when we look at it, it's intergenerational. It's not a bunch of 70-year-olds together talking about all the mistakes they made. It's intergenerational. Then we got Thursday night. First 6 guys, there you go, there's your team. We'll form it. We'll put it together. We'll coach it. We'll kick it off. And we do everything. And when I say, I need Denver to hear this, because he don't need anything else on his plate, do you, Denver? When I say we do everything, we do everything. You know what we've learned? If we leave it to the church to do it, it don't get done. If we leave it to the men to do it, it don't get done. So we do everything. And within 72 hours, you'll know exactly who your team is and where you're supposed to be. Off you go on the greatest adventure you'll ever go on. And for 90 days, you'll get to experience it. And you'll get to watch God do some really cool stuff, I guarantee you. When's the last time you heard a guy that's come out of his mouth? Tim, I didn't realize how cool it could be for 6 or 8 guys to sit around a room and talk about God's Word. When's the last time you heard that? Have you ever heard that?
I have, but I can't remember.
Yeah. Most people have never heard it. We hear it all the time. Matter of fact, we hear it all the time within the first 90 days. Like, man, I just didn't realize how cool God's Word could be to sit around a bunch of guys, sit around and talk about God's Word and what He's taught us in the previous 6 days. And man, I got some guys holding me accountable now. I got some friends. And I'll tell you, we'll provide you everything you need. Again, because this whole deal is about growing your personal relationship with Him. So again, what we learned was we had to give men a structure to get them in the Word every day. So what we did, all of our resources that now let me back up here. If the Word is not the core of this deal, don't even show up. Okay? Because if it becomes drinking coffee and talking about UK basketball, the size deer you killed and all that kind of stuff, don't even show up. But when it's about the Word, and that's the core of it, let me let you guys in on a little secret. Do you know the Word is living and breathing?
Amen.
And it can change your life? Huh, how about that? So what we've done is we've given you 6-day formats. Like this study here, which is the core study, this is where everybody starts, is 18 weeks long. You know how many teams we've had do it in 18 weeks? 0. Right now the record is 2 years down in Murray. Doesn't matter. Most of them it takes them 6, 7, 8 months to do just this study alone. Because man, when God starts working and that Word comes living and breathing, you get to talking about it and all, you might get through one day sometimes. Because God's revealed so much cool stuff. So this gets you in the Word every day. Let me show you. We came up with this really complex way of doing it. This happens to be week 7, day 3. Read Leviticus 16:5, 28, Exodus. So there's a definition here of something. And then here's 4 questions you answer from what you read. There's not an answer key in the back. Don't be looking for it.
Answer keys in the Bible.
Huh?
Answer keys in the
That's right. And then you share your thoughts. Because here guys, look. What good does it do for you to read God's Word if you don't think? So He can teach and reveal. If you just read it and mark it up, hey man, yeah, look, one year chronological Bible, look how many days I've done. Man, woo, aren't you impressed? Well, here, let's go back to this day back here. Tell me what you learned that day right there. Lord, I don't remember that day. You were just reading. He wants you to think. So you do that for 6 days. Now, it might take you 15 minutes. It might take you 30. Might be like a guy in Louisville called me a few Saturday mornings ago. They were in week 3 of this study. He said, Tim, I just spent 2.5 hours in the Word. He said, I don't know if I've ever spent 2.5 hours cumulatively in the Word. He said, this has been so cool. And he just went on and on and on. I finally said, Bobby, look, I'm in the middle of a meeting. I got to go. Sorry. He was so excited. Because that's what the Word does. So then when you finish this one, you move to the next one. You finish that one, you move to the next one. We got 17 of them right now. There's enough material there for 5, 6 years. We keep adding all the time. And then we have our support system that we've built around it. Because we know men get distracted and they quit. So we just keep supporting you, reminding you why you're doing what you're doing. We have all kinds of other tools and things we do to support you. And back to when I say we do it all, we do it all. And guys, I'm telling you, guys stay. They flourish. God blows their mind. And He changes their life. Now, this is the way we operated for the first 12 years. We still do it this way, if you're a guy that opts to do that. But the other game changer is, we cannot, do you think I can pull that up or not? We've created a technology platform. If it'll come up. Yeah, you want to bring them up. Perfect. We've created a technology platform, number one, to sustain us into the future. Because you old guys are going to be gone someday, and all the other guys are going to be young guys who want to do everything this way. You throw one of these workbooks at a 25-year-old, he don't even want to touch it. He wants to do everything digitally. So, we created this platform so that can happen. So one of the things you can do is you have to. Every man that gets in, does this, has to go on here and create a profile. Now, you don't have to make it this elaborate. You don't have to put your picture on there. You can just put your name on there if you want to. That don't make any difference. But I'm showing you the capabilities. If you want to create a profile on yourself and go through and do some of these things, take the personality, disc personality, the Enneagram, all of it. You want to do all that spiritual gifts test, it's all there. You can do it. Doesn't cost you anything to do it. Create a profile. You want to put your grandkids on there, put your grandkids' picture on there. Whatever you want to do. Okay? And then when you start your team, you guys will go right here, and it shows you everything you do. It gives you everything you're supposed to do. It gives you all your agendas for your first 5 meetings. Has your accountability, it has everything. Well, I mean, we've made it where you just pour water, basically. All right? But then you got to decide how you want to get your content, which is this. You can choose to do it this way and just purchase the book, the workbook, okay? Or you can do it digitally if you want to. So here is, that look familiar? Right there? Same study, same content, just delivered in a different way, okay? So you turn to week 1 in here, you turn to week 1 in this study, it's exactly the same as it's in the book. So here's 6-day formats. There's what you read, there's your questions you answer, you type your answer in, it saves it. It's there for infinity. And you can access it anywhere, anytime. You have it on your device, whatever. Take it with you. You're sitting in a doctor's office waiting for 45 minutes for your appointment. You can pull your phone out and do one of your days if you want to. There's the Bible. There's Bible Gateway, YouVersion, links to the Bible. We actually have teaching videos here you can watch. So every study we've got is done this way. So you can choose to either do it this way or that way. My fire team, well, I've still got 2 guys that want to use a book. They want something in their hands to touch. That's okay. The other 4 guys, we use this. Doesn't matter. It's coming the same way. We have the same discussions. It's all exactly the same. Just the way it's coming to you. Okay? So as you go back again, right now there's a pathway you follow, and these are all there's 2 pages of studies here. And if you don't want to do these, and you want to do something else, do it. We recommend and highly recommend that you do this for sure. But if you decide your team wants to do something else, do it. I don't care. But we've made it really easy for you if you just do this. And everything builds off of each other. And you'll just always have something there to help you grow and give God time enough so He'll teach you enough so you'll learn enough to trust Him enough. Now, there's a whole lot of other things here I'm not going to get into on the platform that we do, some of our support stuff, but it's a game changer. This is the future. This will sustain us into the future. This is allowing us to, in January, we're getting ready to launch in Australia. And I'm not going to have to go over there, praise the Lord.
Got some big spiders.
We can do it all through here. We're getting ready to have a deal that's going to expose us into 42 countries. We'll see what the Lord wants to do with that. Am I telling you all that to impress you, to think I'm some big boy with big pants? No. I just want you to know that this is something that can help you be who God made you to be if you want to use it. And this works for any size church. We got a church down in Western Kentucky right now, Casey Baptist. They run 14 on Sundays. But they got 5 guys in a fire team. They love it. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock, I'll be at Southeast Christian with a meeting with them. Aren't you impressed? That's the 4th largest church in the country. 47,000 people. Got 11,000 men in some kind of discipleship setting that we're going to have the opportunity to work with probably. I don't care. It don't impress me. But what I'm trying to prove to you is it don't matter the size or who you are. You're God's man. And He wants this for everybody. So, questions real quick. Thoughts? Now, we have a church partnership model where we partner with churches. And when I say that, that means that's the system to implement it, run it, oversee it, literally do everything. Denver's seen the document, he knows what I'm talking about. And when I say we do everything, we do everything. It's a 12-month partnership. Well, through the KBC, we're giving 8 of those away. for free. So if you guys choose to, you're going to be one of those 8. But now it doesn't let you individual guys off the hook, though, because nobody has asked me the magical question. Anybody want to know what that is? What's it cost? Okay? Well, we've been a donation-driven ministry for 12 years. But when I sat down with this guy right here, he said, Tim, that will not sustain you into the future. And he said, this is the best discipleship system I've ever seen for men. But it will not last in the future if you don't do something about it. Create a revenue source and a technology concept that will go into the future. So we'd been working off of donations and guys having to pay for the individual workbooks. Because look at me. If you don't invest a little skin in the game in your walk with Jesus, you're not really committed to walking with Jesus the way he wants you to. Because we live in a world where everything what? Costs something. So I'm sorry, this is not about money. I mean, I pulled up in a Lamborghini out there. No, pulled up in a Toyota Camry with 218,000 miles on. This ain't about money. If it was, I'd be out. I want guys to experience what I have experienced, which is life. His kind of life. And being the man God made me to be. So, but there is a cost involved for the individual men. So if you decide you don't want to use this technology thing, you got a flip phone, you don't know what a QR code is, I mean all that stuff, and you just want to use a workbook, so be it. This particular workbook costs $37.50. The next study you do, called The Way Forward, costs $20. Anybody want to tell me why there's a difference in the cost? The printing. That's all we're looking for here is the printing. All right? So the studies vary from $20 to $42, the actual workbooks, okay? Now, if you decide to use the technology deal, which allows you to have access to everything digitally, you can do the studies digitally, you can have access to the videos, everything. If you don't join the platform in one of these 2 ways I'm getting ready to show you, all you can do is set up a profile and order a workbook, okay? But if you want more than that, and if you want to use the digital format of doing it, you have to choose one of the 3 ways to do it. You can be a free member, which I've already told you, you can take that profile deal, all that's free, and you can order the workbook, okay? Or you can be a core member for $9.99 a month. Or if you want to pay it up front, $99 a year, that gets you 2 months free. Okay, what's that allow you to have? It allows you to do all the studies digitally, not just the study you're currently doing. When you pay $9.99 a month, you have access to all 17 studies just like that. So if you want to if you're doing the identity study with your fire team and you go over here and say, well, I like that Ephesians study, I think I might just do that on my own. So you can do it if you want to. I mean, we got a meeting with Lifeway coming up real soon about partnering with them, and because they don't have a way to digitally build out their content. So they're thinking about partnering with us, with some of their men's content, Tony Evans's and stuff like that they own. We've got some other partnership discussions going. So we're going to have all kinds of content because we've created a unique way for it to be distributed. Or you can be $14.99 and be a premium member. A premium member gets all the stuff I just talked about, except once a month we drop premium teaching content that only premium people have access to. And they get notified about it, and it's there if you want to utilize it. Most, obviously our number 1 category is the $9.99. Now guys, I'm telling you, I mean, how many of you occasionally buy a $6 cup of coffee? Or whatever. Some of you old guys are shaking your head. I'm with you. Let me ask you, how many of you have blown $9.99 in a day on something else? I'm talking a month to grow your relationship with Jesus. How many of you have blown $14.99 in a day? I'm talking about $14.99 a month to grow your walk with Jesus. Okay? Then that's it. That's all the cost involved. Buy the workbooks. Now, we have some guys that do the core membership just so they can watch the videos, because men are visual. And then but they use the workbook because they want the deal to write in. You can do whatever you want to. But that's your skin in the game. And we tried to make it as reasonable as possible. And that's our revenue source so we can operate. But we had our national board meeting yesterday, actually. And our income this year, still 87% of it has been from donations. We're not getting rich with this. This is just a way, logistically, to get the stuff to people. Okay? Questions? Complaints? Yes, sir, Denver.
Do you have some people that even Zoom in?
Yep, absolutely. I forgot to tell you that. Our number one growing deal right now is virtual fire teams. I'm in one too. I have my in-person one on Wednesday nights. My virtual one is tonight at 7:30. I'm not going to be able to be involved in it because I'm here. And my virtual team is with 5 other guys in 4 different states, which is really cool. They're guys I grew up with. 2 of these guys I had not seen in 20 years. Now we're doing life together. Now, if COVID taught us anything, it's that a screen can be used to change lives. And the younger folks, you know what we're finding with a 32-year-old guy? He's got 3 kids, got 2 soccer practices. They're both working, all this and that. And we ask them to be in a fire team at 6 a.m. and like, dude, there ain't no way in the world I can do that. But if we give them an option at 8:30 at night, after the kids go to bed, sitting on their couch once a week in their underwear, building friendships, having accountability, and growing in God's Word together, they'll do it. It's our number one growing deal. And I believe within 5 years we'll have more virtual teams than we will in-person teams. But who cares? We're making disciples. You with me? So yes, Denver, I appreciate you bringing that up. You can choose that option too. Because you're going to see on the card here that one of your options is a virtual team. If that's something you're interested in, mark it. Because I'm going to share, I bet there's crazy schedules in here, and that we may have to have one tire team out of this group, probably virtual, if I'm guessing. Okay? But I'm going to tell you, I've been in a virtual team now for 8 months. Man, what I have seen the Lord do in a virtual fire team of all things has been unbelievable. Again, what's that just prove? He is who he says he is. And he can do whatever he can do whatever he wants to do with whatever he wants to do. Make sense? So here's how I'm going to close this. Somebody give me, because I'm searching for this. I've not gotten one yet. Somebody tell me what you got to lose by trying this. Somebody, you grow a little bit in your relationship with Jesus over the next 90 days. What do you got to lose by trying this? I'm searching. I'm looking for somebody to give me an answer because I ain't found it yet.
$10 to $15.
Okay, there you go. All right. But are you really losing? Yeah.
It's an investment.
But again, are you with me, guys? What do you got to lose by trying this, or do you just want to go back and doing the same thing we've been doing and expecting different results? You know what the enemy's counting on tonight? He's in Vegas right now putting all of his chips in the middle that you guys will leave here. That's why I don't let you leave without committing. But he's betting that you're going to go home and so he can get in your head and you'll go just do what you normally do, which is nothing. Why is he betting on that? Because that's what we've done for so long. His odds are pretty good. So,
I got a question.
you don't have to do it. But boy, Denver needs your help. This church needs a movement of men. Yes, sir.
What is the additional premium content? What is that?
I'm going to let you pass those out, Denver. I'm sorry?
What is that entitled, the additional premium content?
It's, like I said, once a month we drop other teaching content. So, for example, there was September 22's. It was a 3-part series called The Greatest Generation. It's a biblical teaching. So we dropped those so only premium members have access to that. And we got some other things we're adding to the premium thing too. Denver, you got anything you want to say? It was a 3-part series.
One of the things that, the reason I started preaching, the series that I started preaching is God convicted me in the breakout session when you were there. So, that's the reason we've been going through our identity. And I think I just did the 12th week and got about 3 or 4 at least more to go.
Awesome.
Still looking at what God wants us to do. It's different than what's in here, because I've looked in here too. So don't think, well, you've already heard it, because believe me, it's a lot better in here. And
I don't know about
you need
that,
to,
but-
do that. But then the other thing I wanted to mention is, and I think I just did the 12th week, lying about it, or at least more to go. You can't do this.
Awesome.
Because of the finances, you need to let me know when nobody else needs to know about it.
Yeah, or you can let me know.
And so we'll take care of that. We do have a men's ministry fund, so any of you others that want to help others do it, we can put into that and do it that way too. And that way nobody has to be the wiser of any of it. So we don't want anybody to feel like they can't do this. And I know some of you will give to that, because I know you guys got giving hearts. So, and I'll be probably one of the first this Sunday to give to that fund. And so I just want to say I'm looking forward to what God's going to do through all this.
Yeah. Again, guys, we're just asking for 90 days to test drive the car, okay? You may say, there ain't no way in the world I'm going to do this. This is the craziest thing ever. Step up for your church and give it 90 days. Just asking for 90 days. But I'm going to tell you what, if I'm going to bet pretty heavy, at the end of that 90 days, you're going to go, oh my gosh, yeah, let's rock and roll, man. We need to open this up to other guys in the church, and these are my guys now. And here's the other thing I want you to understand. Your foundation team you're going to have for the next 90 days, at the end of that 90 days, I'm not asking you to give it up and go start other teams. No, we'll start the other teams. You still got your guys. We just need you to help with some of the other things getting these guys going, but you won't leave your guys, because those will be your guys now. Okay? Yes, sir.
What's the difference between the fire team?
I get that. Just mark through fight team. That's something different that we're working on. We're going to have later, but we just didn't want to have to print cards again. So just mark that off. So
Fire team.
fight team, yeah.
Fight team.
Fight team, yeah.
Can you started in person, can you maybe go to virtual?
Down the road? Sure. We've got some teams that some weeks they meet in person, and then other weeks it just works out better for them to do it virtual. Now we are building, and somebody in your group will have to have a Zoom account, okay? But we are building into the platform. It may be another 12 to 14 months before we get it done. We're going to have our own deal in here where you won't have to use Zoom. It'll actually be built into this, where you won't have to use Zoom. It's coming. So.
How long does the team meet? Is that up to the team?
Great question. I was waiting for somebody to ask that. Our structure's set up for about an hour and 15 minutes. If a guy's got to leave, he leaves. Like my fire team, we got a guy that travels a lot, so sometimes he'll be there 45 minutes or so, and then he leaves. It's okay. Now, and is providentially life going to happen or something come up and you can't be there? Absolutely. That's why it's important to have 6 to 8 guys, though, because you only had 3 or 4 and 2 can't be there. So we think the ideal size is 6 to 8. But yeah, I'm missing my virtual team tonight. I'm going to miss my in-person team Wednesday because I'm going to be teaching up in Northern Kentucky, spending the night. So I'll miss my in-person team on Wednesday. So, yeah, we know that kind of stuff happens.
I'll have to wait. We got it right there until I can't hear you.
Other questions? Thoughts? Am I a raving lunatic? I hope you'll do this, because I am. I'm a raving lunatic about men being who God made them to be. And plus, I got some good company. Jesus' own family thought he was crazy. So, and believe me, I've been called lots of things because I'm so passionate about this.
This QR code?
Yeah, you can scan either one. The platform is the top QR code, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Inside the brochure, if you're somebody that knows what a QR code is and can utilize it, there's a way to scan the QR code and it'll take you to this platform.
Somebody doesn't have an email in
Huh?
What if somebody doesn't do email?
Just give us the best way to get hold of you.
What about, you want us to wait till we get the email? Or,
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't sign up for the platform yet till you get the notification of the team and we get you going. I mean, you can if you want to. You can set up a free profile and then switch it later if you want to.
Where's the QR code?
It's in the inside of that.
Okay.
Should be maybe towards the back there. Yeah.
So you got an app?
So it's not a true app. It's a URL. The platform's actually a URL.
What the event number?
The event, don't worry about that either. I'm sorry. Yeah, don't worry about the event number. If you just want to leave your card where you're sitting, you can turn them over.
So I had to add a note.
That's good. And if you need to put notes on there about things, do that. And then just leave your card on your seat, and we'll pick them up. Hey guys, real quick. Thank you so much for being here. We thank you that we can have life and have it to the full. We thank you that you're in us and you want to live your life through us. And we're thankful that we are your man, each and every one of us. So now, Father, we just pray that you'll do something unbelievable that can only be explained in terms of you with this group of men and take them on this unbelievable journey for the next 9 days. I'm so excited to come back and see as they share what you've done. And we'll just give you all the praise and the honor and the glory for it, because that's who you are. We're so thankful. We're so thankful for Jesus. So we ask all this in his powerful name. Amen. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.